topic is on duality, also referred to as opposites. We all know about opposites: good and bad, light and dark, short and long, black and white, male and female, and so many more. Yet many do not understand how these opposites are one and the same thing when it comes to our existence. First of all, in most instances, there is really no such thing as opposites. What we call opposite is really just a convenient way for our mind to grasp and make sense of what we are thinking about by judging it against something we already think we know about. For example, let's look at the opposites of hot and cold. There is actually no such thing as coldness. There is no such quantity as cold. There is only heat or lack of heat. Thermometers cannot and do not measure the amount of cold there is. They only measure heat. The concept of absolute zero, where all motion ceases and even matter changes its nature, is not the greatest amount of cold possible. It is the total absence of heat. The same is true for long and short. Rulers do not measure the shortness of something. They can only measure its length, whatever its length may be. Finally, let's look at the young and old. There is no such thing as youngness. There is only age. If something has more of it, we call it old. If it has less of it, we call it young. What I'm actually saying here is that opposites are actually a tool which helps us to put things into a relative perspective and which makes it easier for us to judge and understand them in our terms. The ancients in Kemetic Egypt referred to these two opposites as Ba and Ka, yin and yang in Asian traditions, two component elements of the human entity and the two sources of vital energy. The ancients tells us that consciousness, which is Ka, referring to yang here, cannot perform any actions without power, which is Ba, in other words yin, and that Ba cannot perform any actions without guidance, which is here Ka. In other words, power without the will necessary to do anything is essentially powerless, and consciousness with its will to do something is totally useless without the ability to act upon its thoughts and desires. It is important to understand that Ba and Ka is just a case of one giving rise to the other, and the existence of a never-ending cycle of waxing and waning one into the other. It is truly a case of an intertwining so complex that it cannot be unraveled without destroying the whole, because it is the whole. The whole is the whole and is not divisible. Ba and Ka are relative terms used to form an understanding of a whole we cannot understand without the aid of our relative construct. Many belief systems have ideas considered absolute, and absolute is something always unchanging. So if it's unchanging, then can there be a cycle in it? Where do Ba and Ka fit? Consciousness and power fit in too. The ancients tells us that it wasn't until the separation of opposites occurred that the thousand things, a metaphor for all creation, came into being. Smaitawi means unions of the two fields in Kemetic Egypt and also refers to yoga in Asian traditions. So Smaitawi between the Ba and the Ka speaks of all creation being illusion and only the one being real. The harmony or unifications of opposites makes the whole and makes you whole again. In our personal lives, this is the great work we must all perform in order to find our center and awaken our genius within. So go ahead, embrace opposites in your life. You will better understand yourself and the world around you. This is Rama. I hope this served you, and I'll see you next time.